You all should know there's certain people you can't have in your practice. If you're having anything to do with federal funds and certain state funds, if the state has a law, there's people who are not allowed to work in your office.
From my perspective, they're unemployable.
Okay.
Technically, are they employable? Yes. But, when you think about someone that's been excluded either at the state level or the federal level, and more likely it's both, depending on the nature of the circumstances, is that really somebody that you want employed in your practice? You want to have access to personal health information of patients, access to potential financial information of you or the practice? I mean, absolutely not. In fact, not too long ago, a doctor was referred to me because he was contemplating hiring somebody that was on the exclusion list actively and wanted to figure out a way to make it work. And I just said, why? Why are you going to subject yourself to this? Because you're putting yourself on the HHS-OIG radar by bringing this person in. Because the easiest way to think about it is when someone is excluded, they're effectively radioactive. They can't touch or have any connection to any services rendered to someone that is insured by a plan that is connected to federal dollars. Now, federal dollars, we oftentimes equate that to, well, that's got to be a federal program. Well, no, state Medicaid programs are sourced through federal dollars as well. So it's effectively any patient that has any sort of federal healthcare plan or state healthcare plan, they can have no connection to services rendered. They can't even be involved in submitting the insurance claim. Or otherwise, that is providing services by an excluded provider. And that can generate significant civil penalties and can result in not only civil investigations, but criminal investigations. In fact, I'm representing a doctor here locally in a False Claims Act civil investigation, thankfully, for employing a provider that was excluded and he didn't know it. And I think that's the biggest issue that is out there, is that folks don't even know what the exclusion list is. They don't know how to access it. And they don't know the ramifications that it carries if you were to employ someone. And I know a lot of folks talk about, you need to have certain protocols that you employ when you're going to hire somebody, that you need to, check the status of their license. You absolutely need to be running names through both the federal and your respective state exclusion list. They're easy to find. A quick Google of your state and exclusion list, and you're a few clicks away from being able to type in that person's name and seeing if they're on it. And if they are, that should be an easy no to that individual as a candidate.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Dental Revenue Network, my membership has a lot of billing company owners, and what they're doing is using their HR company or payroll company, whomever they do the interviewing with and the background checks, that's part of their background checks. But individual offices, and any office should be doing that too. But it's hard for me to get that across, like how urgent that is. And I was told, just looking through Aetna, I contacted Aetna, not in compliance, so I can't say it came from compliance, but their fraud, waste, and abuse program that they have you go through mentions this list too. So I think even Medicare Advantage triggers the federal, which the majority of dental practices are interacting with Medicare Advantage plans, whether or not they know it. So this really is a dental industry-wide thing that should be out there. For those of you that are listening or watching, I'll make sure that link, the federal link, is in the show notes. And like Justin said, just Google your state, and they update it every month. And so if you are operating, with a lot of employees, but Medicaid, I know Medicaid is very tough on this. That's how I first heard about it, was the states really coming down on it. So if you've got Medicaid, I don't know, I just assume everyone that takes Medicaid is going to get audited at some point. I just assume that, because I think that's kind of fair to say, don't you feel?
Absolutely. And so what I advise clients to do is, if you're hiring somebody that has a license, so it could be a hygienist, it's a doctor, you should ask them to provide you with a copy of their self-query from the data bank. So the National Practitioners Data Bank is the online data repository. It's essentially the online report card for all healthcare providers. And what you and I can't go on and access individuals' report, but each individual licensee has the ability for, I think it's $35 and maybe $25 to request a self-query. And so what that will do is it will provide you with their report. It will show if there's ever been a malpractice settlement, if there's ever been an exclusion, a board disciplinary action, a practice-related criminal conviction. There's a whole host of different adverse events against an individual's license that gets reported to the data bank. And you would be able to see all those. And then you can take much more informed decision as to whether this is an individual that's going to be a good fit at our office or not.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine if something happened 15 years ago and they've taken every billing class since then, like I can imagine they probably reformed, but still, I'm talking about just like a malpractice act or something. But the LIE list, I don't mess with the exclusion list, so I don't. How do you get off that list?
Would you like to hear more? Follow the link for the full episode.